Hello and welcome to the Read to Know podcast, where the goal is to actually remember what you read so then you can better apply it to your life. On this podcast, we go through a book one chapter at a time, and then we actually practice remembering what we've read. So if you want to follow along, we're currently working our way through Bob Goff's book, Dream Big. I'm Zach Brown, and my friend Chris Yarber is joining me to help discuss and break down this book. Also, if you're on Apple Podcasts, it would be huge if you left a rating and review for us. It would help out a ton. If you're not on Apple Podcasts, no worries. Just send this to a friend who might be interested. Anyway, thanks again for listening and enjoy the conversation. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Zach.
We were talking about this before the podcast. We were just talking about coffee.
Yes.
We just made a cup before we sat down. And, there's just something about opening a fresh bag of coffee up. The first cup is it's really something special.
There is. And there's something about opening up something other than Folgers. Fresh.
That's true as well.
Not that anything's wrong with Folgers. If people, are listening, they like Folgers. Don't mean to offend you, but there are better coffees out there. And especially when you're making it with an AeroPress, and you add just the right amount of water, because you said that we made coffee. You made the coffee. I just watched you. And but this is really good. And it's the right temperature. I like a little bit of cream and sugar in mine. You like yours black. I could drink mine black, but I prefer a little bit of flavor. But it's really good.
Right. Yeah. No, I wouldn't really drink Folgers or Waffle House coffee. I wouldn't drink that black. I probably actually wouldn't drink it at all. I would just try to avoid it.
Right.
That's my thought process when it comes to that kind of coffee. But specialty coffee, nicer, higher quality coffee, I'm definitely fine with drinking black. It tastes good enough that it's like, that's what I think. If it's good coffee, I think it's fairly easy to drink black, at least for me in my experience.
Right. And I do like coffee. One thing I like, I don't know if I want to say more than coffee, but about the same, I do really enjoy it, is tea. I love tea. Last night, I had 2 different cups of tea. I had, right after dinner, I had like this Earl Grey with vanilla, and that's like a great combination, Earl Grey and vanilla. And then also I had this tea that it doesn't make you sleepy, but it helps your body kind of relax. It's like more of an herbal tea. So I really like tea as well, but I haven't really ventured. I don't know that much about it. I haven't really ventured into, getting the big cans of, tea where you're measuring it out and scooping it out and stuff like that. So I would like to, though, eventually maybe get into that.
Right.
But,
yeah. How is that herbal tea?
How is the herbal tea?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. I mean, I add a little honey to it to make it just a little more sweet. Because if you drink it just straight, it's a little tart.
Right. So. Yeah. I'm not a big tea guy, but I would like something like that, some kind of like nighttime tea to end the day with, like a nightly ritual kind of thing. I think that would be nice to have. Yeah. But I'm not a big tea guy, so I have to try that sometime.
It relaxes you. It relaxes you. So get a good book, have some tea before you go to bed, and your body will be relaxed. You'll be out in no time.
That sounds like a great nightly ritual there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be mine for start. And one thing. We've been reading, one book we've been reading lately that we really have enjoyed is this Dream Big, which we're back in today. And we're on chapter 17, which is Keep the Moon in the Window. And the subtitle is The Path to Your Ambitions Isn't Linear, Keep Moving Towards Them. And he starts off this chapter. We learn why he entitles this Keep the Moon in the Window, because he uses an illustration at the beginning of this chapter concerning getting to the moon. And we've learned by now in Bob's writing that when he tells a story, really pay attention to the details of the story, because you can take the details of the story and connect it to the overall theme of the chapter. And so in this beginning illustration, he talks about if he were to have an opportunity, and that's kind of the word we would use to describe this chapter, if he were to have an opportunity to go to the moon, there's a couple things that he would do in order to get there. First of all, he would find people that could help him, and people who have built rockets and launched a couple successfully to get him there. So, of course, earlier in the book, he's talked about surrounding ourselves with people, taking interest in others so that our ambitions are helped in that way. And then also, he talks about how he would keep his eyes and the window pointed towards the moon. That would be his direct path. That's the path that he's taking. So he would keep looking towards that, just as we need to keep looking towards our ambitions. And then the last thing I'll say about this specific illustration is it's going to take a while to get to the moon. And so we need to get over looking for instant gratification when it comes to our ambitions and our dreams, because it's probably going to take longer, because just like there's maybe some hiccups with getting to the moon or taking that process to get there, it's going to take a while, either the actual journey or preparing for that. So preparing for our ambitions or even on the journey to arriving there, it can take a long time. And, we live in a culture that loves instant gratification, wants stuff all the time, instantly. And I'm still kind of mad that Amazon Prime is not delivering in 2 days. I ordered something on Amazon Prime this morning, and it's not getting here till next Monday, know? But I understand what the circumstances, why it's taking longer, but we want that so bad. And so we got to get rid of that. Right. So that's some of the keys we see in this first illustration.
I ordered some stuff for the podcast, and it's been almost a week. Hopefully it'll be here like tomorrow.
Right. Especially when it's stuff you really want. Yeah. You're really looking forward to. That's difficult. And some of us, and Bob, I think, would say this too, that some of us are really looking forward to some dreams and some ambitions that have been started since we've done our list, since we've vetted those.
Right.
Some of us are really looking forward to some of those dreams and ambitions, but we have to get over the instant gratification because it's going to take a while to get those.
Right. Yeah, those are some good points. He also talks about, like the way to the moon, like getting there, he's going to have to make a lot of micro adjustments. And that's the thing. There's no one clear straight path to getting to the end goal. You're going to have to be ready to jump over here or make this quick turn over here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of micro adjustments along the way.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't, when they go, when you send a rocket to the moon, it's not a straight shot. You know what I mean? They have to adjust, adjust course constantly. And that's what he's getting at here. He also mentions, I think this chapter is different than other times where he's mentioned like taking advantage of opportunities, because this chapter is not just about taking advantage of opportunities, but it's actually more so like, how can you almost look to create opportunities for yourself? So it's a little bit deeper, it's a little bit more proactive, in a sense. You're looking, you're like, can I get a hold of this person? Will, if I meet this person, will this person, be someone who can, a good connection to make with this, or, or do I need to move over here to be in line with, in this circle of people where it's better fitting for my ambition, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
It's a little bit more proactive in that you're taking advantage of opportunities, but you're also trying to create an environment, a situation where there are opportunities to take advantage of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He does repeat and repeat and repeat, find these opportunities and take them, because you never know what's going to come out of them. But you're right. This chapter is different in that way. One story he shares in here is this story of In-N-Out Burger with his friend Ryan, who used to work there, and Bob's dream job growing up was to be a French fry fryer at In-N-Out Burger, which is kind of funny. But Ryan was always, that was not his dream job, working at In-N-Out Burger. And he had an opportunity with, I think, a tweet, right, that he saw, that he saw on Twitter, and someone was asking for advice or for help on this startup, and Ryan replied, "Here's my advice, email me." Mm-hmm. And that guy emailed him, and then later on that company became Uber, and he became the CEO of Uber and stuff like that. And so he took that opportunity. So he does have elements of that, but he also has that element that you spoke of, and mentioned something also in this chapter that he hasn't mentioned before, I believe, in the book specifically, which is he talks about the value of doing research. Mm-hmm. And so, okay, you may be trying to find opportunities or to place yourself either around people or in situations where those opportunities present themselves, and you take those. But if you don't really know where to start off when you're looking at your vetted list of ambitions, if you don't really know where to start off, then start off by doing some research. Even if that's as simple as doing a Google search. That's one thing that I've learned from you as we've shared different interests that we have, whether it's with video or audio or pictures or whatever it may be, is one thing I learned from you was just the simple thing of being able to YouTube something, and if you don't know, just start off by doing your research and learning from that, even if it is something as simple as getting a course on YouTube or looking up a video or looking up something on I've learned quite a bit by going to Reddit and reading different forums and discussions that they have, and so because that's available to us, let's do our research and get these opportunities started towards our ambitions.
Yeah, that's a good point to make, is that your research and taking advantage of some opportunities or creating opportunities for yourself can start with learning from people that you don't know, what I mean, or people that you have no connection to, just people on the internet. Exactly like you at the beginning of the chapter when he talks about, if you were going to, try and get to the moon, you would talk to someone who's been there before. You would talk to someone who has had a couple successful flights. Right. And you can get the information off those kind of people from the internet without actually even having to talk to them or reach out to them, because some people just give that information away for free online. Right. And yeah, I've learned a ton from, YouTube and online resources and that kind of thing regarding topics like this. If I'm interested in anything, the first thing I do is I search it on YouTube and I find out more about it. Right. And that's a good step to take. That's a good first step to take. Yeah. A couple more thoughts that I had on this chapter before we open up the book is, going back to the story of his friend who went from In-N-Out to, to Uber, to the CEO of Uber, to then he's stepped down and now he's doing other things. He had to follow that person on Twitter as well. You know what I mean? So he was not just, that opportunity didn't even fall into his lap to say that, but he had to go, and whoever it was, what account, what it was, he had to go find that person, follow them on Twitter, and then was attentive enough to what they were saying. He kept up with them enough to when they asked for help, he was ready to jump in. Right. So, and that's the brilliant thing about today's day and age and social media, is that we have the ability, we can follow these people that we want to connect with, that we can, and not, again, he might be this chapter or the next chapter where he's like, don't be a stalker, with this, but be attentive and then be ready to jump into the conversation when there's an opportune time to do that.
That's why when people on podcasts, we say it here, but that's why people either on podcast or you see a video of them or something like that. If you really like what they're doing and they say in a video or in something you're listening to, follow us, connect with us. We think, oftentimes I think of connection as actually sitting down and having a conversation with someone or talking to them on the phone or texting or something like that. But sometimes connections are started just by liking their page or by following them or by subscribing, and just take the couple seconds it takes to do that, because you never know what may come out of it. Because if he would have never started following this guy, then he would have never seen that, and he wouldn't have ended up in the situation that he's in. But we noticed, and Ryan wasn't thinking about this at the time, but when he followed that person and stuff like that, really what you're doing is you're creating an opportunity. Right. And so that's what really we need to get onto the path of our ambitions, keep moving towards them, is to start that opportunity.
Right. And these opportunities and creating these situations where we can move the ball down the field towards our ambitions. These are proactive choices that we have to make. So we have to be careful not to, as he says in the book, keeping with the example of being an In-N-Out, French fry fryer. Right. It's like, don't get stuck at the fryer. You have to eventually take the next step and do what needs to be done to move the ball forward. And that's what this chapter is about. Yeah. And just trying to, I think, keep your eyes peeled. For anything on the horizon that might be something of benefit. And I think it just comes down to, just being willing to connect with anyone, anywhere. And, most of these opportunities are going to come through people anyway. Yeah. So whether it's someone that you even don't think, I think even if it's someone that you're like, I don't think that, if you sat and thought about it, you would say, I don't think that person would have anything to do or helpful for me, in my ambition or what I want to do. I think still being willing to make connections with people like that is what ends up probably leading to bigger things down the road, is that, not to then shun people who you're like, well, they're not going to help me anyway, so no reason to go out of my way to, make a connection with them.
Right. Especially if it's someone that maybe you even look at in their life, whether it's politically or religiously or in some other fashion you disagree with. Still, I would still take the time to follow those people and to connect with them. If you ever get the chance to have a conversation with them, with them. Yes, you disagree on a couple things. Well, then try to understand that person, see where they're coming from, and see where the opportunity leads. So I think you're right. I don't think we should pass up on things we would see as a waste, because we never know what our life or what God may do with those things.
Right.
So,
because like we said before in previous chapters, it's not about just us and getting what we want, but we also should help other people get what they want.
Right.
And I think when we do that and we just make genuine connections with other people, whether you think that they'd be able to help us at all or not, that we're going to find a lot of benefits from both of those. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think if we thought about it, people that we made connections with that we didn't think would be able to help us, sometimes those people that we didn't originally think would be able to help us in any way, shape, or form end up being instrumental later on down the line. You know, I think that happens a lot in people, in stories that I hear. I had no idea that this would end up happening this way, but it was just because that I went out of my way to, to be friends with or reach out to this person that I didn't even have any expectation of them helping me at all.
Right.
They end up doing something, huge for them down the line, again, not out of a selfish thing, but just out of just being real and like connecting with people, kind of thing.
Yeah. Don't pass up on it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what exploring opportunities and stuff is about. So anyway, let's go ahead and open up the book here.
Yes.
And as we open up the book, before we get into our favorite quotes and things, he mentions In-N-Out in this chapter. And you haven't had In-N-Out before, have you, Chris?
No, I've I've passed a store or a restaurant, but
you've passed one. Where did you see?
I've passed one this was a while ago. This was a while ago. My parents went on a trip to Hawaii, but they left us out west when they went. Well, they didn't leave us, but we went out west with them. And then came back. My brother was older at the time, so he was able to take care of me. But they went on to Hawaii without us. So
where were you at? Were you in California?
Yeah, in California. The only time I've ever been to California.
What city?
It was a long time ago.
Okay.
Let me think. I have San Diego stuck in my head. I don't think it was San Diego though.
Because Bob's
I think
from
it was
San
close
Diego.
because I'm thinking because Bob was in San Diego. So give me a minute, it will come to me.
Okay, that's fine. So you've seen an In-N-Out. You've never been to one.
I've seen an In-N-Out. Yeah, I've never been to one.
All right. Okay. I had In-N-Out for the first time last year, last fall, and I always find this conversation hilarious between the people who are In-N-Out, diehard fans and say it's the best ever, and people who have never had it and be like, is the hype real? You know what I mean? Anyone who's never had it, I think that's their question is the hype real?
Right.
And people who had it, they usually say, yeah, it's real. And if, not to get off on too big a tangent here, but my In-N-Out thoughts are, the hype is real compared to places like McDonald's, because I think In-N-Out, the style of the restaurant, what it looks like, the price, it fits more in line with like a McDonald's type of restaurant, like that kind of fast food. And compared to McDonald's, blows it out of the water.
Right.
100%. But people often compare it to like Five Guys or something. And I think Five Guys is a different type of restaurant. So I don't know if the comparison is quite accurate there.
Right.
So I think that's a hard comparison. But for what it is, like the fast food kind of restaurant that it is, it's definitely way better than McDonald's or anything like that.
Yeah.
They toast the buns too, which is a nice added bonus.
I do love a good
enjoy
toasted bun. Yes. Yeah.
I enjoy that. Anyway, that's my In-N-Out thoughts. If anyone listening has their own In-N-Out thoughts that they would like to add to this conversation, the conversations that, you add if you reach out to us at readtoknowpod@gmail.com, they don't just have to be about the chapters here. If you want to join in on coffee conversations, sparkling water conversations,
that's fine.
In-N-Out conversations, anything,
yes.
Feel free to reach out and give us your thoughts on any of that too, because obviously we enjoy talking about all that stuff.
Right. If you want to comment on your brown hat or my shirts, I could use a couple more of these. So if anybody wants to send them, I can give you my address. And anyway, so all kinds of things.
Chris is just looking for some free shirts over here.
I am.
All right. Okay, getting into the chapter. What kind of quotes do you have?
Well,
Chris?
I have one here past the first page, but he says that it's not an easy thing to move your dream into reality. Of course, we discover that. But it's also not a terribly mystical process either, which I like how he says that you can do it step by step. We know that he's an encouraging guy, so he has that. And the path to getting there is to explore opportunities and see how you can navigate toward your ambitions. And then he says, ditch the desire for instant gratification. So I think that kind of just starts us off by summing up this chapter as a whole.
Right, yeah. And going back to the point that he makes also about mid-course corrections, someone came up to him and was asking him about relationships one time at like a conference. And he says, what's the one thing I need to know about relationships? And Bob looks at him and goes, you probably haven't had a girlfriend before,
Right,
have you?
right.
Because, it's never one thing. And that's the same thing with our ambitions. It's never the one thing you have to do.
Right.
There's a lot of little things, and those things add up. But yeah, that's, he continues here going on. He talks about exploring opportunities, and that exploring opportunities will give you the confidence to know you're on the right trail. Even if you get a no, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing here. Reach out, make those connections, try and move the ball forward, explore opportunities, even if it's likely that you're going to get a no, right? He says every time he heads to London, he mails the Queen of England.
Uh-huh.
And he sends a letter to the Queen of England.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm still waiting to have tea with the Queen, but putting yourself into the stream of possibility is what it looks like to explore opportunities.
Right.
And I think that's big. I think that's big because I think a lot of times we're afraid to make those steps. We're afraid to send a letter to the Queen of England because what are the chances of her saying no? Probably very likely, to be honest. But that doesn't stop him. That doesn't stop Bob.
Right.
And he's saying it shouldn't stop us either.
Right. Yeah,
right?
He says just because I've received a couple no's doesn't mean I'm going to abandon an ambition.
Exactly.
And so if you hear no, either keep asking or just don't give up. We emailed Bob, sent him a video asking if he could be on an episode of this podcast for Dream Big. One day we're just going to call him. We've already decided that we're going to do it one of these episodes. So keep listening to these episodes because we are kind of coming to a close of this book. Being on 17 out of 29. Kind of coming to a close of that. And so we just may call him. I mean, he put the number in the back of his book, so we got his number just like the Queen. Her address isn't hard to find. His number's not hard to find.
Right.
We got it. We're gonna do that. Just because we hear a no. Anyway, so
I mean, we emailed Bob and we just said, hey, we're doing your book on our podcast. We're going through the entire thing, one chapter at a time, and we're talking about it. And we just kind of left it open. We were like, we'd love for you to join us in any way, shape, or form that you might be willing to. We of course know he's a busy guy. He stays pretty busy. And
he said no. He has a lot of podcasts and Zoom calls and stuff that he's doing now, which we totally understand. But
we put it out there still, and that's
right.
the point that he's getting at here. And we hadn't gotten to this chapter yet, but I'm glad we reached out, even though we hadn't read this yet.
That's right.
But yeah, moving on. He says even the more outlandish and unlikely, the better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He says people who have big ambitions pursue even the smallest opportunities everywhere. So if you're someone who wants to be ambitious when it comes to, things that you want to do and want to accomplish, you're always chasing down little opportunities.
Right. And also not only following little opportunities, but you also have what he calls focused intentionality that you're asking yourself, is this person I met part of the journey? You're looking at articles you read, you're looking at different things in your life and you're evaluating, okay, how can I help this person, or how can I take genuine interest in this, or what made this something that I'm reading add to my life? And so he says it does take a little focused intentionality.
Right.
along with following those smallest opportunities.
Exactly. And again, he emphasizes the importance of kind of writing these down, getting them out on paper and getting them out into the real world. He said, don't keep your ideas stuck in your head. Mm-hmm. Don't get stuck at the fry station, as he's talking about with his friend who was was working at In-N-Out, but then not, he moved on to bigger things like Uber. He says, it's honorable work, but it might not be your only work.
Right. And just because you're doing something good now, as he mentions there, you may be doing something honorable, maybe doing something good. It doesn't mean that that's going to be the only thing that you do. I really love my job right now where I'm working. I love it. I love the different aspects of it, but it's probably not going to be the only, I really hope it's not the only thing I'm going to do the rest of my life. I really do enjoy it, and I would be okay with that, but I also want to seek other opportunities and find other honorable things to do. And he says this, that opportunities always find the people who are looking for them the most. And so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
To find opportunities, you got to be looking for them.
Right. Yeah. Isn't that funny? You think of people, you're like, man, how do they get all these opportunities? Like, it's like everything is coming right to them. It's probably not that.
No,
it's that they're looking for them, and they're aggressive towards hopping on those opportunities and creating opportunities.
Right.
And it's usually not someone's just sitting there and all these opportunities, they're just falling in their lap.
Exactly.
They're working for it.
Right.
But we just don't see that part.
Right. Yeah, we don't see the focused intentionality. We don't see the chasing. We don't see the work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
We just see them on stage, so to speak, either figuratively or literally. And we think they have it made, but it does take a lot of intentionality. It does take a lot of space to
chase
those.
some of that chasing opportunities, exploring opportunities, is research, as he says here in this second to last chapter. But it also is what I like here is, he says, get to know some of the names in your desired space, in what you're looking at. Get to know some of the names in that space. Figure out how to contact them via email and send them a message. Follow them on social media. Join the conversation. He even goes as far as to say, set a Google alert, and you'll receive an email every time the person comes up in the news. It's like non-creepy stalking.
Mm-hmm. We're not talking about stalking. We're just talking about learning about those people, following them, connecting with them.
Right. Just like his friend who got connected with Uber, he had to follow those people on Twitter and be able to see that so he could join in when the opportunity arose. He says, attend conferences and be polite, but muscle your way to the front of the line and introduce yourself to people.
Yeah. So be polite, but at the same time, push yourself towards that direction.
Yeah.
Be intentional about that.
Yeah. And he's like, this is what it looks like to be prepared. People committed to their ambitions don't wait for open doors. They knock, and then they ring the doorbell. Then they camp out. They remain incredibly attentive and respectful while assuming that they are invited to their ambitions rather than waiting endlessly for permission. I think that's huge there. They remain attentive, but they're assuming that they're invited to their ambitions. We have to assume that we are invited to our ambitions.
Yes.
And you can be polite and you can be respectful when it comes to that, but you can also have this greater sense of conviction about this is what I need to do.
Yeah. And that's chapter 17. That's it. Tomorrow we'll be in chapter 18, which is the number for the White House is, grab your pen and paper, 202-456-1414. So it gives us the number in the White House, and subtitle is Make the Call and Know What to Say. So sounds like to me on the same line as this opportunities, but we're going to get into some areas we haven't dove into yet. So it's going to be a good episode.
Right. We're kind of diving into the next step when it comes to this idea of this last chapter.
Right.
Yeah, it should be good. If you guys have any thoughts on this chapter, reach out to us. Let us know at readtoknowpod on all social platforms, or readtoknowpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Also, if you are enjoying the podcast, we would love to see a review and a rating from you. We would love to know what you think about it. And also, if you do this on Apple Podcast, it helps elevate it so that other people see and get this content as well, even if they're not directly searching for it. So please rate and review. We'd love to see those. And if you share that with us by taking a screenshot or by copying and pasting, send it to our email, readtoknowpod@gmail.com. We would be willing to read that on a show, whether it's good or bad. We see it as constructive criticism if it's bad, so no worries.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I tell you what, after talking about In-N-Out, I'm getting kind of hungry now.
Let's go eat.
Let's get something to eat. Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll see you tomorrow for chapter 18.